The recent publication misled the public by implying he had ties to individuals facing terrorism-related investigations. He maintains that he has never been invited, questioned, or investigated by any security agency over terrorism financing, and adds that even the retired officer quoted in the report admitted he did not accuse Malami of funding terrorism. According to Malami, political opponents are twisting the narrative to create what he calls false and damaging insinuations ahead of the political season. And the Department of State Services has intercepted a medical doctor accused of supplying drugs to suspected kidnapping gangs operating across parts of Kwara State. Officials say the doctor was arrested in the Jebba axis following intelligence that linked him to carrier activities supporting the criminal networks. According to the DSS, some of the kidnappers have recently been seeking medical help after sustaining gunshot wounds during clashes with security forces, a development that prompted closer monitoring of health-related movements in the region. Security sources are now advising tighter protection around clinics and health centers in remote and forest-fringed communities, warning that such facilities may become targets for gangs in desperate need of treatment. And for more on this, we have a legal practitioner, Sam Akpologun, joining us now to examine the efficiency of the Nigerian justice system in the ongoing fight against terrorism. Good afternoon, Sam. Sam, given the allegations against former AGF Malami, what legal safeguards exist in Nigeria to protect individuals from politically motivated claims, especially in a sensitive matter like terrorism financing? Sam.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in this matter. I think that generally terrorism has taken a very wide dimension, and so we have to look at it just beyond just the whole idea of bombing forests and trying to locate terrorists in the bush. We have to look more, we have to understand it's become more sophisticated. Of course, the idea of getting persons, getting accusations, linking people to terrorism at this period, especially in this political season, is to be expected. The legal position, therefore, is to have a better and a stronger enforcement process, especially a stronger judicial system, which will look more thoroughly into such allegations and clearing the fact on time. Time is of the essence, and then a more clinical approach towards these matters are also very, very important. But you see, generally, I think that we need to get specialized courts that will make speed of clearing allegations, to be in the front burners. That helps to reduce such accusation. Because when you know that the accusation comes and within a matter of weeks it is cleared, I believe that such allegations should be reduced. Otherwise, until it is investigated and cleared, the person remains a victim of allegations.
Right. Now, as a lawyer, how do you see the role of legal professionals in, ensuring due process, due process, in following? How do you ensure, due process is followed when high-profile figures are implicated in security-related allegations?
Well, if I get what you mean by due process is it's not for the lawyer alone to ensure due process. You get that now. The due process is here cut across the whole criminal justice system. Due process here involves the process of investigation, the process of litigation where it requires litigation. But before you get to that point, I think we can't just use this our cloak and dagger method only. There are issues of forensics. There are issues around the safeguard that can be put in place, not just lawyers drafting laws and so on and so forth, or lawyers following some form of due process. But I think that some of the due process that can be done include such standards like the NFTS, and then the cyber protection policies that not only lawyers can undertake, but for that matter, the the other stakeholders like the banking system, the security system, the National Security Advisors Office, and then finally talking about the legal system. The legal system will just need a bit of more training of the judges and the lawyers, and they will need a bit of more implementation of already available legal paraphernalia like the Administration of Criminal Justice Act and the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act. Once these acts are properly put in perspective and used, and once they are well deployed, we will have a safer climb. But the challenge is that there are not much willpower for the deployment and the use of what is available. I do not really think that what our problem is unavailability of legal regime. It majorly has to do with the willpower or the political will to implement what we have available.
Right. And of course, can you tell us what recourse does a professional, such as either a lawyer or a doctor, have if they are publicly implicated in crimes they did not commit? And how can the law help restore their reputation when this happens?
The first thing that every professional should do is to take very important steps to safeguard himself. That is why we have you should put some policies, your data protection policies in place. Every lawyer or every professional should ensure that he is compliant with the Nigerian Data Protection Act. There are some measures of compliance. I believe that's not the subject of discussion for today, but within this little time we have, there are some measures of compliance that you need to put into place, and then everyone's financial record, because where professionals come in here have to do with financial issues, a provision of intelligence, provision of your special know-how. So you must know, you have your KYC, you must know your customer, you must know who you are providing information for, know who you are providing your legal or professional services to. You must know who is sending you fund, what is the source of the fund. You must know the relevant information, relevant data, and show that you have done due diligence. I wish we had enough time to talk about the due diligence. Now, we must know that you have done due diligence. Then when such acquisition come, your due diligence will help to prove you, to show that you were not, you're not knowingly involved in terror financing or terror assisting. So due diligence was required, and those due diligence is simply complying with the data protection requirement, and then the requirement for the KYC requirement for every professional.
Right. So Sam, before you go, can you tell us how the law balances the public's right to information with protecting individuals from misleading media reports that could damage their career or personal life?
Please, could you take that again?
I was saying, how does the law balance the public's right to information with protecting individuals from misleading media reports that could damage their career or personal life?
Now, the law provides for your individual's right to get relevant information, but those information should be information that are in the public space or that public officers or public offices keep. You cannot use the Freedom of Information Act to request for my personal data. You get that now. So the law already provides for the safety of individuals and, for that matter, professionals. That's why it is important for all of us to know what is involved in the Data Protection Act. The Data Protection Act, they talks about please make provision for the protection of the data of professionals, of individuals, and for that matter, professionals. So where compliance with such provisions are made, the professionals are generally protected to the extent to which the Data Protection Act and are provided. So the extent to which a person can seek for information or deploy information, which is actually a human right, anybody could get relevant information. Freedom of speech allows you to make your opinion in the public sector, but there are opinions you cannot just say. That is why, while your freedom of speech is limited by the amount of protection that the law protects me, you cannot make damaging claims and say it's a freedom of speech, or that you are trying to, or that you have a freedom of information. No. your freedom of information stops where my right to protection, to the protection of my data stops. So where there are some information you cannot access by law, there are some information you can access by law. Those information are all clearly stated out in the relevant laws. For example, you cannot be asking me to give you information about my clients. There are some client protection, there are some laws that protect the information I get about my client. But again, where my client is a terrorist, there are some information I cannot keep. So these laws overlap. Where the interest of a person is involved, there is also a place where the interest of the society is involved. Where the interest of the society is involved, then interest of the society takes precedence beyond the interest of the person. So where you provide relevant, that's why I keep on talking about providing relevant safeguard, providing relevant policies, your data protection policies, your client protection policies, those policies which actually you have to you have to comply with the National Data Protection Agency, their standard. Once your policies comply with the standard, then that becomes your defense when people make allegations that are to smear your professional or political personality.
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam Akpologun, for joining us and giving us your insight on this topic. We appreciate it.